I'm going to address the fact that I live. Welcome. I'm following the Universal Life Church guidance.
The old welcome.
This is not where most of us expected to be today. We thought we would be at a gathering with 100 plus of Molly and Phoenix's closest friends and family. Instead, we're an intimate group of important people in their lives. COVID, social unrest, and now fires have disrupted our routines, our plans, and our lives. They force us to be innovative, flexible, and live in the moment. But most importantly, they can't stop love, and they can't stop hope, and that's what's keeping us going. In preparing for today, I asked Molly and Phoenix if there was any religious or other rituals we wanted to be sure to include. As most of you likely know, the answer was more or less no, and keep it short. So I'm taking a bit of a liberty, and I've chosen a reading that I think is appropriate for the moment on many, many levels. It's, I don't know if anyone has read this before, but it's called The Agreement by Barry Lopez. So one time, before there were any people walking around this valley, there were bear people. They had an agreement with the salmon people. The salmon would come up the river every fall, and bears would acknowledge this and take what they needed. This is the way it was with everything. Everyone lived by certain agreements and courtesies. But the salmon people and the bear people had made no agreement with the river. It had been overlooked. No one thought it was even necessary. Well, it was. One fall, the river pulled itself back into the shore trees and wouldn't let salmon enter from the ocean. Whenever they would try, the river would pull back and leave the salmon stranded on the beach. There was a long argument, a lot of talk. Finally, the river let the salmon enter. But when the salmon got up into the country where the bears lived, the river began to run two directions at once. North on one side, south on the other, roaring, heaving, white water, and rolling big boulders up on the banks. Then the river was suddenly still. The salmon were afraid to move. The bears were standing behind the trees looking out. The river said in the middle of all this silence that there had to be an agreement. No one could just do something, whatever they wanted. You couldn't just take someone for granted. So for several days they spoke about it. The salmon said they were and where they came from, and the bears spoke and what they did, what powers they'd been given. And the river spoke about its agreement with the rain and the wind and the crayfish and so on. Everyone said what they needed and what they could give away. Then a very odd thing happened. The river said it loved the salmon. No one had ever said anything like this before. No one had taken this chance. It was an honesty that pleased everyone, and it made for a deep agreement among them. Well, they were able to reach an understanding about their obligations to each other, and everyone went their way. This remains unchanged. Time has nothing to do with this. This is not a story. When you feel the river shuddering against your legs, you're feeling the presence of all these agreements. And that is why we are here on September 12th, 2020, to be present for a marriage. This marriage, not a wedding, is just one small step on the journey that started years ago at, no surprise, a party. Next year will be the formal wedding because COVID has changed the rules, and how fitting for Molly and Phoenix to keep the celebration and gatherings ongoing. Back to that first party. They immediately clicked. How could they not? Though a couple years apart, they walked the same Skyline High School hallways. They have many mutual friends. They share a love for the Pacific Northwest and a love for animals. Lots of animals. From early in their relationship, yeah, where is Buddy? Buddy's supposed to be there.
Trying to get into the house.
The steak is gone.
Classic.
From early in their relationship, they felt a deep connection and a sense that the future should be spent together. In fact, their first discussion and commitment to each other came with the decision to adopt Buddy. When I asked what they value in each other, they told me a few things. First up for Molly was Phoenix's cooking. That certainly made me happy to know that Phoenix does actually grocery shop and cook, and that a future together might consist of a diet with more nutritional value than Fruit Loops. Next was the fact that Phoenix is a stress sponge. Their words, not mine. He can soak up some of Molly's excess anxiety and energy and still stay calm. Phoenix values Molly's ability to connect with people, and they both value and cherish the community of friends they have built up and down the West Coast. Phoenix also values Molly's motivation and drive. They motivate each other to do more professionally and personally and be bigger. They encourage, support, and deeply trust each other, which allows them to be their best selves as a team. They've shared beautiful scenic trips to Montana, the Caymans, Galway, a favorite spot. And when they talked about these spots, the joy was always in who was there with them. In fact, most of you were there with them. They also know it takes work to be a team. They've grown together. They've learned to self-reflect on their needs, to communicate openly with each other. So as a close circle of family and friends, we get to be part of their agreement. We are here to acknowledge the obligation they are making to each other as they stand and take this next step. We're here also demonstrating that we too love them and will support them on that journey. So, in the spirit of hope for the future, with the love and support of your family, and knowing that you have the strength to make it last a lifetime, my phone's gonna go off. Okay, see, that's what you were, I know in teaching to silence my phone, so we're gonna just turn that off.
Is that a length timer?
It's an unknown length. All right,
Beautiful.
there we go. Good timing there, right? Where were we? Hope, family, and strength. Phoenix, do you take Molly to be your wife?
I do.
And Molly, do you take Phoenix to be your husband?
I do.
You may exchange rings as a symbol of your unending commitment to each other. You have to put it on each other.
Oh, you gotta put it on each other?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got to take this one off. Which hand is it?
See, all the rules have changed. We get to be
There you go.
just ourselves and practice. Right?
Yeah, we can mess up this time, right?
Exactly. Because there is no mess up.
You gotta really
Does
put
it
over my
fit?
knuckle, yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, there you go.
Knuckles. It's got huge knuckles.
Yeah.
All right. And by the power invested in me by the Universal Life Church, I pronounce you husband and wife. And you make this. And with that, we're going to end this part. And what they would like is if people want to do toasts, to do them at dinner, but not to do it here.
Yay.
Thank
This
you
is
so
Phoenix
much.
Abernathy. Yay.